Coming up on the Isiah Factor Uncensored, a mother accused of gunning down her two daughters will tell you their conditions. A former Harris County deputy arrested for having sex with a 14-year-old with allegations of a swingers ring. A Houston family is demanding justice after a man who is accused of killing 4 people while drinking and driving walks free. We'll hear from the family. Also, Joe Young from the Indiana Pacers and Betty Idle from Love and Hip Hop, all coming your way on the Factor Uncensored.
He doesn't take BS from anybody, and he's always looking out for you. He's Isiah, and this is the Factor Uncensored.
It's a hot Friday night, and it's time for the Isiah Factor Uncensored. We were off for two weeks, but we're back now. We're making it seamless, like we didn't miss a beat. We're here now. We got some top stories going on, some very serious news going on in the community, and we're going to kick that off with Chris Stipes, who joins us in for Angela Chin. Lots of very disturbing news happening in the community tonight.
I gotta be honest, it's days like today working in the news business. It makes me so sad. It makes me, to be perfectly frank, pissed off with people, pissed off that there's so much violence, so many people hurting each other. It breaks my heart. We've got several of those stories today. They're important to share, so we're going to get right to that. We've been following breaking news out of Fort Bend County since about 5 o'clock this afternoon. A mother shot both of her adult daughters, if you can believe that. Now the mom is dead. One of the daughters is dead. The other daughter is in critical condition at the hospital. It happened in the Westheimer Lakes North subdivision that's outside of Fulshear. When police got there, one woman was already dead in the middle of the street. The other was also already shot. She was on the street. So mom is still standing there with a gun when Fulshear police arrive, and a police officer fired one shot at her and killed the mother. The wounded daughter, the one who the mom shot, was taken to the hospital by air ambulance. She's in critical condition tonight. We don't know how she's going to do. No word. That's the big question tonight. No word on what started this whole thing. I mean, this just blows my mind. Yeah. What could cause a mom to shoot her 2 children? The Fort Bend County Sheriff Troy Nails says we've been out to this house before. He couldn't say specifically why, but that's the big question: motive. What led to this incident? The husband was there at the time, and they pulled him away from the house. Obviously, he was very shaken up, to say the least. His life is ruined. So just a crazy, crazy story. Another big story that we're following, looking ahead to tomorrow, is the 38th annual Houston Pride Parade in downtown. And there's a lot of nervous people right now in the LGBT community after what happened in Orlando. You know, more than 100 people get shot, 49 killed in Orlando, and here we go having the 4th largest gay pride event in the country. Going to be a lot more security, Isiah, more police, private security forces, metal detectors, random vehicle searches. No guns, concealed or open carry will be allowed at this site downtown. I mean, some people that we talked to today were initially afraid. They were initially afraid to attend after what happened to Orlando. But we talked to members of the LGBT community here in Houston, and they said, now is a time that we must stand together and show solidarity. You know, we can be afraid, but then the bad guys win, the terrorists win, and they're not going to let that happen. And Isiah, it's scary to be in any crowd these days. You know, I'm looking all over social media. If you go to a shopping mall, you go to a movie theater, you never know when somebody's going to go crazy or when radical Islam is going to rear its ugly head and pull out assault rifle and start shooting people. It boggles the mind how scary. It's a scary world that we live in right now, and I don't know what the answer is. For us to be more vigilant, you know, to stop being so politically correct, to start questioning things that seem off, people that seem off. We're so afraid to offend people. I think, you know, we got to be more aware. We got to have our eyes open. I don't got the answer, but it's scary. We got to come up with something to stop these mass shootings. Newtown, Colorado movie theater. It's happening way too often. Another story, and this one, it makes me want to go take a shower after I tell you about it. We're going to show you a mugshot here in just a second. Former Reserve Harris County Sheriff's deputy charged with sex assault of a child. 48-year-old Charles Walker. We have his mugshot now. He's not an employee of the Sheriff's Department. He's a volunteer. This happened in Deer Park. He and his common-law wife were apparently swingers, meaning they're having sex with other couples. They were fighting and breaking up. That's when the woman told cops Walker had sex with a 14-year-old girl. But he says he didn't know she was underage. He thought she was 19. Turns out the girl says she had a threesome with the reserve deputy and his wife. A lot of he said, she said here. His wife is also charged. She's facing a felony. The wife says she was forced into this swinging lifestyle, but this 14-year-old juvenile is telling a much different story. She says the wife actually asked for a favor. Now, let me set the stage really quickly. This juvenile was a runaway. She's living with this couple. She says the wife asked her for a favor, have sex with my husband, because apparently he was being unfaithful, and she wanted him to stop having sex with other women. So if he, if she makes him have sex with this 14-year-old. It's this crazy case. A lot of he said, she said. Needless to say, the reserve deputy has been relieved of his volunteer duties with the Harris County Sheriff's Office. Finally, any parent out there, this is going to blow your mind. A 9-year-old girl in Pasadena early this morning is an attempted kidnapping out of her apartment complex. This guy breaks in through the front window, pulls this girl out of her bed. She obviously wakes up. She's screaming. She's fighting. She's kicking. She's holding on to the handrail of the stairwell. She's able to break free, get back in her apartment. This guy's still on the loose. He's just described as a guy in his 20s. He's got a white shirt, blue jeans, earrings in both ears, possibly a mustache. I mean, that's all I know. But how scary is that? You're in the comfort of your own apartment and tries to steal your child really quickly. I know we got to wrap. This reminds me of a case that I covered. It happened way back in 1990 out in Dickinson. Jennifer Schuett was pulled out of her apartment window. She was raped at 8 years old. Her throat slit ear to ear. You remember this case? They caught the guy like 20 years later because of DNA evidence. He ended up killing himself inside of a jail cell. But that's another case that kind of was reminiscent of this one. But you can tell I'm fired up. You can tell I'm fired up because of a lot of bad news. You got to move on.
Man, my God, you have depressed me. Now we have more coming up with the Factor Uncensored. A family is looking for justice here in Houston. We will be talking to them, but here's what they've gone through.
It was 2 years ago this month when police say millions of Gurgas was drinking and driving after leaving a party.
I drink a few beers, 2.5 beers, but I don't feel any drunk.
The vehicle the cab driver was in slammed into another vehicle carrying 5 elderly people who had just left the Hindu temple after a night of worship. 4 people died, with only 1 surviving. After 2 years, Zagurgas had his trial and a stunning verdict from the jury in Harris County. Zagurgas was found not guilty on all charges.
They need to prove what you are at the time of driving. So what happened in this case is Harris County Sheriff's Office waited 1 hour and 45 minutes to get his blood. So all we knew is that the blood was 0.146 an hour and 45 minutes later, and then 3 hours after the crash, the breath test showed a 0.10. There was not enough evidence what he was at the time of driving.
And the Patel and Bott families have been left outraged. Tonight, those families join us on the Isiah Factor Uncensored.
And joining us live now is Paresh Patel, who is a family member of those victims who lost their lives 2 years ago back in June. Also joining us, Warren DeProm, who's an expert at DWIs, and also Adrian Garcia, former sheriff of Harris County. First of all, Warren, let's begin with you. How did this guy ever get off of these charges? How was he ever cleared?
You know, there was a mountain of evidence in this case, Isiah, but the difficulty was in the presentation of the case. And the law actually makes it a little bit difficult for prosecutors in this type of a situation because of how they have to look back at how intoxicated the person was at the time of driving.
Be specific for us. What did they have to look back at, and what didn't the jury get?
Well, Texas is a time of driving state, which means that we have to show as prosecutors that the person was impaired at the time of driving. That involves guesswork and relying on what's often a lie to guess at what they were at the time of driving. In most states, the better law is what's called a time of test law. If the test is taken within 2 or 3 hours of the crash, it's presumed that they were intoxicated, and the jury gets an instruction. This jury didn't get that, and that probably played a role in this case as well.
Mr. Patel, how difficult has this been on your family, seeing a guy who has admitted in court on camera saying, I was drinking at the time, and 4 people are dead, a 5th person injured, and he walks away scot-free? No charges whatsoever, not as much as a DWI.
It's been devastating for us. We find this verdict to be a complete travesty of justice. Wednesday marked the 2-year anniversary of that crash on June 22nd. And after the verdict came out, we felt like we had to relive that all over again, like we lost them twice. Once to this drunk driver who killed 4 members of our families, and lost them for the second time to the jury. So we're heartbroken from the loss, and we're also just heartbroken from the broken promise of justice for all.
What's your next step? What do you do next? Is there anything, any legal recourse for you and your family at this point?
Well, we're exploring options, civil options, but we'd like to have an audience with the district attorney. We've contacted Devin Anderson's office twice now, have yet to get a call back to schedule a meeting. We want to understand the verdict, how we can lose a case like this, given the weight and body of evidence. This is unprecedented. We've never had an acquittal of this nature, as I understand it, ever in Harris County. And so I think we ought to be looking at this as a case study, but also to ensure that this does not embolden others to go out, to drink, drive, and kill innocent people and be completely acquitted. How is it acceptable to kill 4 people, injure a 5th very seriously, and completely get acquitted, free to go home, maybe do it all over again?
Adrian Garcia, you've been by the family side from the beginning of this. How difficult is this for you to see as a former law enforcement officer, former top cop in Harris County?
Well, you know, when you see the tragedy that occurs and knowing that Harris County is the most deadliest county in America with a number of alcohol-related fatalities, and to know that my deputies worked hard, they collected the evidence, they reconstructed the accident, they did everything virtually by the book, and just to see all that work and all that effort and the closure, the semblance of some closure that we're trying to bring to the family thrown out the window is just heartbreaking. It is a travesty of justice, and it was literally a case that shouldn't have been lost.
When you guys look at this as family members, do you feel like you will ever get closure unless you get some kind of verdict from a jury in Harris County, whether it's civil or not?
I don't think we'll ever have closure. I think the wounds are quite raw still. You know, when the verdict came out on June 13th, we were as if in mourning once again. And what we want is justice done. And a civil lawsuit is not going to give us that kind of closure and peace. I mean, our family members were law-abiding, God-loving, devout Hindus. They
left the temple that night.
That's right. Every Sunday they commuted together, all 5 of them, and they volunteered there preparing the meal that's served every Sunday after service. Just 3 signal lights away as they're headed home, this drunk driver runs a red light, strikes our family's car, kills 4 of them on the spot. The deputies who did the field sobriety test, clearly it showed he had failed the sobriety test, was incoherent. When asked where the accident occurred, he says Westheimer, not Beechnut and Synot at the intersection of the accident. These were all telltale signs of having lost normal use of his mental and physical faculties. And that legal definition of intoxication was completely ignored by this jury.
It is difficult, Warren, as you can see, for a family to deal with this. He's going over the evidence, as you can see with Mr. Patel, over and over again, and he just doesn't see how an average citizen or a clear-thinking citizen could come to this type of verdict. How do you explain that to a family?
You've got to explain it to a family. That's the obligation of the prosecutors handling this case. What prosecutors do that's a mistake in these sorts of cases is they rely on the science too much. They talk about the numbers and they don't talk about the facts. And what I'm hearing Paresh talk about is all the signs and symptoms of intoxication and impairment, what they meant, they weren't covered adequately. The defense attorney in this case is an excellent defense attorney, and he did his job and he covered what he was supposed to do, but it sounds like there were some pieces that were missing from this case that weren't presented, that the police gathered, that should have been.
We thank you guys. We're out of time. We want to thank you and we wish you the best and your family in seeking justice. We'll be back with more Isiah Factor Uncensored in just a moment. Stay with us. And welcome back to the Isiah Factor Uncensored. We're here live at the Union Kitchen, and now it's time to talk politics with, I forgot your name.
Kathleen McKinley.
That's the first time, like, who are you? What do you do?
For 2 weeks? You forget my name.
Kathleen McKinley, our conservative here. Also Kim Davis, a media strategist. And you're also our Democrat here. Now, there's a lot going on internationally when it comes to Great Britain and leaving the Union. What do you guys think about that? Good idea, bad idea, Brexit?
I think it's a great idea. I think that the people's voice have been heard. They're tired of being overrun by the EU. They make a decision, the EU says something else. It's all about bureaucracy. It's time for Britain to have freedom again.
I think it's a dangerous idea in terms of the global economy. If you think about when the Brits wanted to go to be a part of what was a precursor to the EU in 1948, and then in '75 they voted to stay, and now they voted to leave. And it's really about this whole fear rhetoric, and we hear the thing about taking your country back, and we hear about immigrants, but it's really more about your immigrants. So I think it's people realizing that we as a world are more interconnected than we want to admit that we are. It's dangerous.
They talk about fear a lot, but you know, when you have a nightclub that slaughtered people, terrorists slaughtering people, and you have a gay nightclub in Orlando,
let's not
you
tie
have
that
a,
to
you have a reason
Brexit.
to be feared.
Wait.
No, it's about immigration, don't you think so?
But I think that's a whole different conversation. I mean, I don't think you can talk
it's
about what
all
happened in
tied
Orlando and what happened at Brexit. Their concern is not as much about immigrants coming into their borders. And if we want to go to Pulse, that was somebody who was a U.S. born in the Queens. And I think that's a different conversation. I think
that's what I heard from Brett.
Well, I think that's what creates the fear is when you talk about one thing and you add it to something else. I think you're mixing the conversation.
They shouldn't be afraid
Well, let's move on to the next
of
subject.
Okay.
Affirmative action. We had a big decision from the Supreme Court. Your feelings on that? Kathleen.
Thank you for my name. I appreciate
drawing
that.
a blank. It's the devil. He's busy tonight.
You know what's interesting about that is that the top 10% rule at UT has brought more diversity to UT than anything affirmative action does. 26% of Hispanics and 9% of blacks go in there. I don't think that blacks need
So you think it's about just blacks?
Well, that was what the lawsuit was about.
But affirmative action is also a little bigger than that.
Well,
and so it is about having a
but in
population.
the university,
Yeah.
I feel that they can make it on their own. 10% has proved that. And you know, I grew up in the 60s in Mississippi. I believed in affirmative action in 60s and 70s and even 80s. But in 2016,
we still need it.
I don't think we do.
Absolutely.
Go ahead,
need
Kim.
it. I think we still need it. With all due respect, I mean, I grew up in Texas. Went to Texas A&M. And what I can tell you is that without the affirmative action, the diversity takes a beating. I mean, we know that all things aren't equal in terms of schools and districts across our state and our country. And so to say that it's 2016 and there's a whole lot different, I think we're a whole lot more like we were in the 60s than people really want to admit.
Ladies, that's all the time we have. We want to thank you for coming on the Isiah Factor Uncensored. Kathleen. I can't believe I'm forgetting your name.
Are you married? Is there? Oh, no, Isiah, I'm sorry.
We'll be back with more Isiah Factor Uncensored in just a moment. Have a good one. Welcome to the Isiah Factor Uncensored, live here at the Union Kitchen. Joining us now is Angela Box. It's time to get outside the box. You were just adjusting a few things, moving a few things around.
Well, you know, when the strapless bra goes south, one must adjust. Let's put it that way.
So what are we talking about tonight?
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, can I give a shout out to the college hunks movers, because they have moved me today and it was a shenanigans. And the reason my hair's all crazy is because I've been running with my head cut off for 36 hours. But I was up at 2 in the morning last night because I was very aware of the Brexit vote, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited because Great Britain lives again. The Brexit vote, I'm so excited about it. The UK will no longer be slaves to the EU. They will have control over their own immigration and their own borders, and like I like to say, sovereign nations will rise again. This is going to take shape in all of Europe. And I think this bodes very well for Republicans in November, because whether Democrats like to acknowledge it or not, people like to have control over their own destinies. And things like the EU, a conglomerate of states, do not allow for that. Immigration in this country has gotten so out of whack, and in the European Union, it's so out of whack. Hillary Clinton has vowed vowed to increase Syrian immigration 500%. 500%. So she's taking Obama's policy and jacking it up on crack. She's also said she will not deport illegal aliens. She's going to basically leave America open borders. Here's the thing that I wish that Democrats could get through their heads. Here are 4 things immigrants should do when coming to America. Rule number 1, come here legally. Very simple. Rule number 2, have some skill that is useful to Americans. Rule number 3, be able to support yourself and do not immediately come and suck off the taxpayer teat, which is what Democrats want because that's an endless supply of voters. And rule number 4, you adapt to us. We do not adapt to you. Donald Trump, who was not my first choice, you know he was not, but he has hit a nerve like no other person since Ronald Reagan. Nationalism, which used to be a dirty word, is now a clarion call, and it should be. Shutting down our border has been done over 4 times in the last 40 years. Excuse me, 4 times and for as long as 40 years.
Out of time, Angela. So you got to make it faster.
I'm sorry. Listen, hooray for Great Britain. Hooray, and I hope we are next.
Your intentions were good. We'll be
Thank
back
you.
with more Isiah Factor Uncensored in just a moment. Stay with us.
I look good, though.
It's hot as hell here at the Union Kitchen. Now let's check the weather officially from John Dawson.
All right, time for some uncensored weather. I'm meteorologist John Dawson, and our forecast looks a lot like June, a lot like what you expect it to look like, as we're going to have some warm temperatures in the afternoons. And definitely a possibility of a few storms when we look at tomorrow afternoon's forecast. First of all, a mild evening tonight, muggy. We're going to keep that word in the forecast as well over the next several days. High pressure will retreat just a little bit, allowing for some of these pop-up storms in the afternoon on Saturday. But then we're going to strengthen this a little bit more as we move into Saturday evening and into Sunday. Maybe a few less storms expected across the area on Sunday afternoon, but we keep all the heat, if not a little bit more. So back to Saturday again, what we're expecting. Officially, if you want some numbers, we'll put a 40% chance of an isolated storm popping up. Not going to knock your plans down all day long, but definitely a brief downpour could be a part of that. Otherwise, there'll be some blue skies and lots of heat across the area. As far as our 7-day forecast is concerned, you can see there on Sunday what I'm talking about as far as less rain, about a 20% chance, and more heat, air temperatures. The thermometer is reading 95. So you know the feels like temperature going to be even warmer than that, going to be up into the triple digits. We'll carbon copy that if you want to for Monday. And then maybe when we get to the mid portions of the week, we'll have a little bit better chances for some more rain.
And welcome back. Time for fun and games now with Carmen Contreras and Mish Guillory. And look what they're wearing. They're wearing blue.
That's
Why?
Right, baby.
Why are you wearing
Celebrating
blue?
you, baby. That's right. It's all about Isiah.
Isaiah Carey Day in Houston yesterday.
That was yesterday.
So, but this is a carryover.
Right. Yes.
Thank
We're going to
you,
carry
ladies.
all the way through the
Appreciate
weekend.
it.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
You're
So
so good. You're getting us all hot up in here, okay?
Oh.
Is that what it is?
All right now, after hours.
Hey, let's talk about J.J. Watt. That's y'all. J.J. Watt's got a shoe, a sneaker. If you rock it, it could possibly outrun a bear, okay? Brand new Reebok sneaker, J.J. Watt. It's going to go for $99. It's going to be revealed July 15th. Right. Yay, so congrats to J.J. Watt.
And
now,
what do we hear? We've got a whole line of gear and shoes coming, so big stuff for the big guy, right?
now, wouldn't it be cool if you bought the sneaker and then, possibly want to date with J.J.
Right.
Watt for
Do
like a
that,
whole year?
JJ. You see
would be
that?
kinda
It's
cool.
marketing. That's marketing genius
Go
right
for
there.
it.
That's the way you make your money.
There you go.
Taylor Swift, hypocrite, bad girl. My girlfriend is wrong for this. She broke up with Calvin Harris over the phone.
Right.
After Joe Jonas broke up with her in 2008. Now, the breakup lasted 25 seconds, okay? When Joe Jonas broke up with Tay-Tay.
Also on the phone,
Yeah,
right?
on the phone.
Also on the
She got
phone.
mad about it, wrote a song about it, and had a fit about it, but she turned around and did it to Calvin Harris.
Did it to Calvin Harris.
Bad girl, okay? Hypocrite.
Big
I agree.
Right.
You don't do that. You just don't do that.
And Calvin says he's happy to be free of her. He says, I'm done.
Uh-huh.
I am happy to be free of her. But he did get a little mess. He unfriended her, he unfriended the brother, and then refriended them on Instagram. Isn't that
He being messy.
He just messy. That's okay.
See, it's Calvin Harris, baby.
She can be a hypocrite, but he can be messy. So, okay, this is my heart right here. You know, Prince is gone. Just God rest his soul.
Yes.
However, there's legend that that man has music all over the place that we've never heard before, but the word on the street is it could hit Broadway. So we are super, super excited that the Purple One's music, unheard music, plus his hits, could land on a Broadway musical.
Excited about
So
that.
that's good to hear, though. I mean, among all of the news that's out right now about who's his, child and who's his sibling, at least some good stuff's going to come out of his passing.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're looking forward to with him, right? And the big news of the day, supporting the LGBT community. Got to do it. It's time for the Pride Parade and Festival. So there's two big things happening tomorrow in Houston, kicking off at noon, is the LGBT Pride Festival first. Starts at noon, ends at 7. And that festival, I got to read a little bit here. It's going to be at McKinney and Smith Streets, right? Then when that's over at 7, at 8:30, we're kicking off the actual parade. And Carmen, I understand you've been to one or two before.
Yes. Please stay hydrated.
Yes.
Don't rock any dark clothes.
Wear your mosquito repellent.
Yes, and have a designated driver.
Yes.
Okay.
And keep your eyes open with so much going on with
Absolutely.
Orlando and crazy people out there targeting individuals because of one reason or another. We have to be very careful.
If you see somebody wearing a trench coat or a sweatshirt,
That's
call
a
the
sign.
po-po.
Sign.
Call the po-po. Po-po. Please.
Something's wrong, but they say that if you do see something suspicious, we're joking, but the officials have said, call. Don't take anything lightly at this parade and festival, so if you see it, call it in. But one more thing to note, if you want to get more involved with the LGBT community, you can go to HoustonStandsWithOrlando.org. And that website is full of videos from our former mayor, Nice Parker. You can see Representative Garnett Coleman on there, and then you can actually repost some of these videos across your social media.
Give us that website real quick
It's
as we wrap up.
HoustonStandsWithOrlando.org.
Mitch Guillory, Carmen Contreras, thank you guys. We'll see you back here next week. We'll be back with more Isiah Factor Uncensored with some special guests. Stay with us. And welcome back to the Isiah Factor Uncensored. We're here live at the Union Kitchen in Bel Air. Joining us now is Joe Young of the Indiana Pacers, proud Houston resident, and people are very proud of you and what you've been able to achieve by going to the NBA. When you first got that call that you were going to the NBA, what was that like for you?
Man, it was a special moment, really just to think about where I came from, the Jack Yates High School, 3rd Ward, and just how they developed me as a player, as a person. And I always just try to give back to them, give the credit to them because they took me in at a young age. I was a freshman. I transferred schools, and they put me right into the rotation right away. And it all started with them, and I want to commend them and honor them for that.
Okay. And you are giving back to the community. You are starting this weekend. Now you've been doing it, but you have something special going on this weekend here in Houston. What can the people find out about that? What can you tell us about your weekend?
Well, I really had to postpone it because I had to do some other things because I wanted to make it the best thing that ever happened around here in a long time. So what I was going to do is really put some more basketball goals up at Yellowstone Park where I'm from, and put a new grounding on the ground, new lining on the court, and just make it look neat. And then right across the street you got Cullen Oaks where they don't have a locker room, and I know that's a big part in a young kid's life to dream big. And putting that locker room in there for them to really for them to dream is it's an honor too.
How important is it for them to have those things, the equipment they need to become the next Joe Young in the future?
Because it really keeps them positive, in a positive note. If you don't have the stuff for the kids to really motivate them, and it's a school, school aspects, for them to come to school and they don't have everything that other schools have to really make them a big school. And that's why I want to make a change at. I want to make Cullen bigger than what they are now. I want people to talk about Cullen, what they do and how they're doing it. Everybody's passing, everybody's moving on to the next grade. Nobody's dropping out, and that's my main focus.
What does it do for you as an individual to be able to come back to your community and help young people out and maybe mentor and guide them in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great, just to have the opportunity to come back, and give back. Because I know when I was younger, they had a lot of older guys, older vets that came back, and really, inspired me to really come out and give back. And so, for the city, it's just I have to do it because I know, at one time I was, in a negative. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what school I was going to go to, but the city stayed behind me, and made me make a comfortable decision by going to U of H at the beginning of my career at college.
What advice would you give a young person who that may be interested in an NBA career? What path should they take? What one piece of important advice would you give them?
Well, I always take the classroom. I feel like the classroom was a big part of me, learning off the court and on the court, and just make your brain think quicker. And I feel like if you get your work done on the court, you can get it done off, on and off the court. So it's like it all goes together. And me, learning that in college for 5 years, to go to class, be on time, being in front of class, get to know the professor. At the end of the year, you know the professor, you got a good relationship with the professor. I just want to teach the younger kids in Houston to really just show yourself. You don't have to be that person, but show it, act like it, and just show a different aspect.
All right, Joe Young, want to thank you for coming. The Isiah Factor Uncensored, and much luck to you in helping out the kids in the community. We'll be back with more Isiah Factor Uncensored in just a moment with another special guest. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Isiah Factor Uncensored. Now it's time to check in with the hardest working man in sports. Mark Berman is standing by, likely with some sort of exclusive.
Not every night. I wish that was the case. The Astros scored 9 times in the first inning tonight in Kansas City. To take complete control of this one, George Springer went nuts in the first inning, leading off with a triple and scoring the game's first run. And still in the first, with the Astros up 5-0, Springer hits his 3rd grand slam of the season. It's 9-0 Houston. Astros now up 13-4 over KC, played top of 8. MLB sources confirm the team is calling up first baseman A.J. Reed from AAA Fresno. He's considered the top prospect at that position in all of the minor leagues. University of Houston quarterback Greg Ward Jr. was one of the instructors on hand at the annual Manning passing camp in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Peyton, Eli, and Archie were all there. Quarterback royalty, if there ever was such a thing. Manning spent 4 years with New Texans quarterback Brock Osweiler in Denver and couldn't say enough good things about him.
I'm very happy for Brock. I sent him a text right after that move happened. I'm excited for his opportunity. I know he's excited. Brock's used these past 4 years to improve as a player. He's an extremely hard worker. I know he's excited to be a full-time starter, and he's certainly earned that opportunity. And I know Houston is excited to have him, and they should be. He's a hard worker. He loves football, and he's glad to be out there, on the field playing full-time. So I'll be pulling for him. Brock has been great to me these past 4 years. He and I had a great rapport together, helped each other out. He would help me out with breaking film down, and I tried to help him as much as I could during our 4 years together, and especially while he was playing.
The Mannings are thrilled to have Greg Ward as one of their instructors.
I had a chance to visit with Greg, and I know he's excited to be here. And it really has turned into a pretty unique fraternity. My dad keeps up with all of our alumni, college players that have been through here, so we're glad to have Greg to that list.
It's really been an experience, just being able to interact with all these starting quarterbacks from big universities. It's been very fun just talking to them and learning any and everything about them.
Ward will once again be the face of UH football, a legit candidate for the Heisman Trophy. However, Greg's world is about so much more than just football.
I don't play for myself, I have parents, I have a daughter, so it's way more important than just me. I don't do this for myself. I know that I have to make a lifestyle for myself because to make a lifestyle for my daughter.
Greg proudly showed us a picture of his 2-year-old daughter, Chloe.
I'm just happy to actually be a father and be Chloe's father. It's truly a blessing to be able to say that I'm a father. My decision making is different. I have to be smarter. I'm a role model now, so I have to look out for her.
The Rockets took 2 bigs in the second round of the NBA draft last night. 6'10" Chinana Uaku from Louisville and 7'1" Joe Chi from China. Joe only weighs 210 pounds, so he's got some growing to do, but he has already impressed former Rocket star Yao Ming, who is a team owner in the China Basketball Association, and has watched Joe play in China.
Very long, very skilled, and very good basketball IQ.
When Joe gets here, Yao thinks he should wear his jersey number 11.
I don't know what number he would choose, but I think number 11 is being emptied for years. It's good time for back on the court.
As high as upside as anyone in the draft. I mean, he's a skilled, high basketball IQ player. Can shoot the ball, can rebound the ball, block shots. Very mobile for his size. When he makes the NBA, he's going to have, I think, top 2 or 3 wingspan in the league.
That'll do it in sports. Back to Isiah Carey and more of his factor.
All right, thanks a lot, Mark Berman. We'll see you again next week. Now it's time for our second special guest, Betty Idle from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. She is a Houston hometown girl, Cypress, Texas.
Yes.
And you're back. You have a new single called Pluto.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that single, first of all.
Well,
and where people can get it.
People can purchase it on iTunes. It's available.
Okay.
So go to iTunes. And a little bit about my single. It's very, I guess people would like to say it's eclectic, like a little bit between eclectic and R&B, pop, but it's a mixture of everything. So I pretty much do like a lot of infusion kind of music. I don't really like to box myself in, so it's just out there. I just put it out there for the universe.
So how have your fans received it so far? What are they saying?
I've been actually getting a lot of love. I'm so excited. I'm so happy about that, and it actually makes me feel so special inside.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, you have been on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. How long?
This is my first season.
Okay.
It's my first season.
And how has that translated into personal success for you and your celebrity status?
Well, it's actually been very great for me, actually. Just because I've been doing music for a really long time, and I have like my fans that followed me from like the very beginning of my career, but there's just so many people that really don't know about me, like they're unaware of who I am. And but I've been on records, like pretty big records, like Thug Cry with Rick Ross, a few records with 2 Chainz called So We Can Live, and Blue Dolphins, and I've been really working for like a really long time. So now that I'm on the show, I'm actually letting everybody know, like, hey, all those songs that you guys were singing along to, that was me the whole entire time.
I was always there with you.
I was always there. Now you just have a face with the name,
Now, what we have been hearing in Houston, they've been working on Love and Hip Hop Houston. I don't know if it has ended or if they're going to continue it. What do you think about doing a reality show here in Houston? A lot of people fear it, saying it would bring a bad reputation to our community. So what's your opinion on that?
I disagree. I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of hidden gems in Texas. There's so much people here.
You were here.
I was here, I was just hidden away on Highway 6. But there's so much talent here, and I just feel like, it's pretty much about how the person presents themselves, It's definitely a great opportunity, a great look for other artists and producers to pretty much show their talent to the world.
Once again, how can we get your song in our last 10 seconds?
On iTunes, you can go catch me on, you can go purchase my single on iTunes, Betty Idle, Pluto, and you can follow me on my Instagram, I Dream Betty Idle.
All right. Thanks a lot, Betty Idle from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you
We'll
so
be back
much.
with more Isiah Factor Uncensored in just a moment. Stay with us. And we're at the end of the Isiah Factor Uncensored. We're here live at the Union Kitchen, and I had to bring Kathleen up because I have to apologize. I looked in her face twice tonight and could not remember her name. Kathleen McKinley. Kathleen McKinley. Kathleen McKinley. My apologies.
You're accepted, of course. You know I love you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kathleen. And make sure you join us here again on the Isiah Factor Uncensored next week. We will be live from the Union Kitchen, and we want to thank you all for joining us and spending your Friday night with us. Have a great night. We'll see you next Friday.
This newscast brought to you by Carpet Giant.